Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, where we discuss everything there is to know in the world of baseball, all the top games, all the biggest news, everything in baseball. I'm Ben.
And I'm Jeremiah.
And we are back here and better than ever.
Yeah, we're back again, guys. Back again.
We are back here at the Baseball Podcast. Going to be talking a lot of great things in the show today. Unfortunately, we had some bad news surrounding two players, one from the Marlins and one from the Cardinals. Both teams in that NL wildcard race, talking about the injuries to those two players, possible sort of solutions those teams can make, what they could do to sort of improve and kind of replace those two great players. Talking a lot of great news as well, talking a lot about, just everything really as far as baseball is concerned.
Very busy week again in baseball.
Yeah, we had Alex Rodriguez's last game, talking about Dansby Swanson of the Braves, just got called up here. And, really everything else in this first show is going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Really looking forward to it. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. Alex Rodriguez played his final game for the New York Yankees last Friday in a 9-6 win against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Yeah, he ended up getting a double in the first inning, drove in a run.
Tied the game in the first inning,
Yeah,
yes.
So he played the night before as well against Boston. He did go 0 for 4 that day, so he did end his career as a Yankee with a hit and RBI, though, on Friday. Possible return?
To the Yankees or to baseball?
No, definitely not the Yankees. There's no way he's going back.
That wouldn't make any sense.
So
yeah.
I'm talking about just in baseball. He did say, along with his agent, that he would not be playing this year, the rest of this year. But who knows if there's a possibility for him to come back next year.
There can only be one possible team that will take a chance on Alex Rodriguez right now, and that is the Miami Marlins.
You think so? But you have to put him in the field then.
Honestly, though, the reason why I don't think it will happen is because the Marlins are in a playoff contention right now. I think they're one game back in a wild card as of today. And, they did lose Giancarlo Stanton, which we're going to get into a little bit. They have to play him at first base. They can't play him at third because I think they got Martin Prado there right now.
It would have to be
who's also playing. He's also having a good year, by the way. Martin Prado. No one's really talking about him, but they have to play him on first base. For one, Justin Bour, their primary first baseman, is he is sidelined right now. So that's why I think it could happen. But will it happen? I don't know. Because does Alex Rodriguez really make your team that much better? It doesn't. It doesn't.
He doesn't, but I think he'll definitely come back to at least get 4 home runs because he is sitting at 696. 700 home runs probably means a lot to him. Like I said, I don't think it'll happen this year. I think if he would have came back, we would have already heard about it, at least teams being interested or anything.
He probably would have signed with the team already.
So I wouldn't expect him to be back this year. He said he wasn't going to. So next year I could see him maybe making some sort of a return to try and get 4 home runs. Probably with an American League team having a DH role. You mentioned he'd have to play first base. Absolutely. He's only played 2 games in the field in the last 3 years. All those with the Yankees. So he's going to have to play in the field in the NL. Obviously, with the AL, he could be a DH. That's where I think he will end up going if he comes back. But I would not be surprised if he decides to just hang up the cleats and call it a day, sitting at 696. I mean, he's 41 years old. I mean, what can you honestly expect from him next year being 42? So
yeah, and then don't forget, though, Alex Rodriguez is a year away from hitting 33 home runs and more than 80 RBIs, but he wasn't even close to that this year. I think a better fit for the Miami Marlins would be possibly Carlos Gomez, who just got designated for assignment by the Houston Astros last week. They did lose Giancarlo Stanton, which I think should probably get into that right about now. Yeah, for the Marlins, do you think that kind of hurts their playoff chances with Giancarlo Stanton most likely out for the year?
Absolutely. He leads them in home runs, RBIs. He's capable of hitting a home run anytime he steps to the plate. He's really their leader in, except for batting average, any offensive category. He's their leader in that. And him being out now, he has a sprained, he tore some ligaments maybe. Still reports coming back as what it is, but he has a groin injury.
Grade 3 strain.
Yeah, so he has a strained groin. This is the third year in a row that Giancarlo Stanton is not going to be finishing out the season. The first year he was not able to because he had some bones broken in his face when he got hit by a pitch.
That was still brutal, by the way.
Yeah. And then last year he had a broken wrist, so he missed games as well. Now it looks like he's going to miss about the last final 45, 46 games here with the groin injury. So you have a lot of invested in Stanton. You have the richest contract ever, over $300 million, and yet he still can't finish the season for 3 years in a row. It's definitely really concerning. But as far as the Marlins go, it's definitely taking an effect. If you look at the Marlins, really the last couple of weeks, they were really in that wild card race. Now they've kind of fallen back. They're 2 games back now in that second wild card spot, which is currently taken by the Cardinals. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games, so they're not playing too well as of lately, and without Stanton, I think that's a big part of their offense that they're going to be missing.
Oh, he is a huge part of their offense, and I think Marlins manager Don Mattingly said that the least amount of time he will miss is 6 weeks, but 6 weeks is I think the September 25th is when he could come back, which is I think the Marlins have 7 games left, but if the Marlins are still in playoff contention by then they can possibly have Giancarlo Stanton come back for 8 more games, an extra game, that wild card game. So I wouldn't rule him out completely, but it's probably not going to happen that we're going to see Stanton back in the Marlins lineup anytime soon. I think we're just going to have to wait till next season to see him again.
Yeah, because you're going to have to get him back included in the team, get him up to speed, get him playing again.
He has to go on rehab assignment, all that.
Yeah, normally you'd have him go on rehab assignments, but that late in the season, you already have the minor league playoffs going on. He's not going to be able to be a part of that. So you can't throw him in there.
And you got September call-ups also.
Exactly, because you have, that the end of the season for the minors going. So you can't give him really a rehab start. You have to really throw him into the majors again. So, and like you said, who knows, depending on things. I think the only way, if he's healthy enough to play, that they actually play him is if they're still in the thick of things. If they've really fallen out of that wild card spot, I think they'll just sort of shut him down for the rest of the season. They don't want to risk anything. If they're sort of in the mix, I could see them maybe going for it. But honestly, I wouldn't do anything with how much you're invested in Stanton, doing anything until he's really completely 100% healthy.
Yeah, and Stanton was actually, he looked like he was about to go on a tear. He was hitting 300 with 10 homers in his last 32 games before he got hurt. So, he had a slow start to the season, but he looked like he was about to get hot at the right time when the Marlins needed him to get hot. And unfortunately, he's just not going to be there. And, Ichiro Suzuki, who we talked about multiple times on the show, he's actually been playing a lot more now since Starnes' injury. So how do you replace Giancarlo Stanton? You can't, but you can bring someone in there. Like I said, I don't think A-Rod is going to help this team win. I just think maybe Carlos Gomez can be a better fit there, because Carlos Gomez is still 30 years old, and he can still have potential to put up some good numbers. I can only see the Marlins bring Alex Rodriguez to sell tickets, but
yeah, absolutely. I think that's going to be if a team brings in A-Rod, I think that's going to be really what I look at most is the sort of reason for doing so.
But the Marlins are in a playoff contention, so I don't think they're worried about selling tickets right now. I think they're just worried about winning games. So that's why I don't think A-Rod is going to come to Miami this year. Maybe next year. I don't know. I can't speak for that. I think if they want to bring someone in right away, they can probably put Carlos Gomez in there. He's had a pretty bad year, but I think if a change of scenery could be good for him. And I think that's the way that Marlins should go if they want to bring someone in. But, yeah, it's unfortunate that Giancarlo Stanton is hurt again for the third straight year. And I just don't know what it is. He just can't stay healthy.
There's people like that in really every sport that they just really can't stay healthy. Every sport, there's people like that. So, I mean, as far as the Marlins go, what they can do, obviously you cannot replace Stanton with one guy. So you have to really throw other guys in there, maybe experiment more with the lineup, see if you have some connections that work well, maybe call someone up. You mentioned there's people that are designated for assignment that you can maybe bring in, Carlos Gomez. So, I don't know, maybe we'll have to wait and see. But you can't place them with one guy. You kind of I think you have to sort of tinker with things and see what works for you.
Yeah, and they still got a pretty good solid lineup there. They got Marcell Ozuna, Christian Yelich, Martin Prado, who's been hitting over 300 for a while. So, yeah, I still think they have a solid core of players. Like I said previously, their pitching worries me a little bit outside of Jose Fernandez. And I think Giancarlo Stanton gave him that little bit of an edge because he's probably one of the most feared hitters in the league. And it remains to be seen how the Miami Marlins season will go as of right now. But I don't know. We shall see.
And as always, we'll have to keep you updated here at the Baseball Podcast.
Yeah, and we're going to take our first break, and we're going to be talking about another player who is in jeopardy of losing his season as well for the St. Louis Cardinals. We'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, and we're talking about Ben and I. We're talking about Giancarlo Stanton possibly out for the rest of the season. Well, there's another player and a team in playoff contention that could be out for the rest of the season. I'm talking about Matt Holliday of the St. Louis Cardinals. Yes, he's opted to get thumb surgery.
Yeah, so Holliday exited the game on August 12th against the Cubs after being hit on his right hand by a pitch. He was placed on the disabled list the day after. You mentioned he had the torn ligaments in the thumb. Going to be out quite some time. Not exactly sure how long he's going to be gone. Looks like it's going to be quite a while. Think about Trevor Story. He had the same thing, torn ligaments in his hand, and he's going to be out really the whole season. Holliday at 36 years old. Mentioned the Cardinals in the middle of the wild card race. They currently are holding that second wild card spot behind the Giants. Ironic to really say that. They're doing so well going into the All-Star break. But the Giants leading the wild card race for the NL.
Yeah, they've been 9-21 since the All-Star break.
It's horrendous. And the Cardinals are second in that wild card race. Really, this is a big loss, really, really big loss out there in left field. So Matt Holliday wasn't having the best season. He was hitting .242 with 19 home runs and 60 RBIs. But over his career, he's been a .300 hitter. He's approaching 300 home runs. Really just a sort of model of consistency out there with the Rockies, the A's, and now with the Cardinals last few years. It's a big loss for the Cardinals.
Yeah, it is a big loss for the Cardinals. Because Matt Holliday was on pace for 27 home runs, and 84 RBIs. That's pretty productive for a guy of his age. And he did get the surgery on his right thumb for a chance to come back this season. But I don't think he's going to come back. Cardinals, I don't know if they're going to rush Matt Holliday out there. Because do you really think Matt Holliday's really going to give you that much of an edge? Like, they have such good depth in St. Louis. And also, not only that, they have a pretty good farm system too. So I think they can have guys that can contribute right away, that can possibly, take over Matt Holliday. Don't forget, Matt Holliday's contract, he does have the 1-year option after this season. So I don't know if the Cardinals want to pick that up or not.
Coming off an injury, it would be kind of hard to imagine they would or not.
Yeah, it will cost the Cardinals $1 million though to have him not on the Cardinals. if that makes any sense. But yeah, it will cost the team $1 million to let him go.
It's really nothing nowadays.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I guess you can kind of see where they might have a thought about what to do. The Cardinals really, I think they're going to be okay though. Think about how much time Matt Carpenter missed, and I think he's probably their best hitter. They missed him for quite some time, and now they're still battling. They've really been, the Cardinals, so consistent over the years. Think about their World Series runs. Even before that, they were always in the playoffs. I think they'll be okay. You mentioned they have a great farm system. They always seem to know exactly what to do. And really, they're going to sort of need to find a solution what to do because they're battling a number of teams. The Pirates are a game back. The Marlins are 2 games back. The Mets are 4 games back. And the Rockies are 6.5. They're still sort of lurking. That's quite a few games, but they're still sort of lurking and in the mix. So they're going to need to sort of keep up the pace even without Matt Holliday in the lineup.
And I think they can. This team's deep enough already to do it. And Holliday has actually been an important part of the Cardinals offense for the past 8 years that he's been there. You know, he's hit 292, 155 home runs, and 614 RBI. So that's a pretty productive for being on the Cardinals. And he also had a really great career in Colorado too before he joined St. Louis. But yeah, man, I have to agree with you on that. This team is really, really deep enough, and the Cardinals are always in it every year. You know, it's like they've been dubbed for the past couple of years the New York Yankees of like the West or something like that. Even though the Yankees haven't been in the playoffs, they kind of have that same kind of. I don't know what word I was looking for, but yeah, they.
Okay.
I don't know what word I was looking for. I couldn't find it, but yeah, they've been noted as that team to always be in the playoffs in the National League.
Yeah, so consistent.
They haven't. I don't remember the last time they missed the playoffs, but it's been a while. You know?
It's been quite some time,
yeah.
And with Holliday, really, I mean, the Cardinals did it last year. He only played in 73 games. He only had 4 home runs and 35 RBIs before he got shut down, and they still were looking pretty good. And this year, Matt Holliday, his WAR, his wins above replacement, is only at 0.2. So really, the other guy you put in there, if you look at the analytics and the stats behind it, can really sort of do a lot of the same things he was. Obviously, I don't think that they can provide the stats that Holliday did, but sort of his role and everything in the team can really be replaced. The Cardinals always do a great job. I think they're going to again. I would expect them to stay at least in the wild card hunt. I think they have a better chance than the Marlins do. The Marlins
I agree.
The Marlins, I think, are really going to drop out without Stanton. I would not expect the Cardinals to drop out without Holliday.
I really thought Miami probably would have dropped off by now, but apparently the only team that's been dropping off is the San Francisco Giants. But I'm not going to try to get into all that. But the Cardinals can survive without Holliday. You know, they made it to the playoffs without him last year because Holliday wasn't productive. You know, he only hit 4. Yeah, and some people thought Holliday was done last year. You know, always getting up there in age. You know, is he no longer an everyday player? So yeah, there are some questions about him, and he's been having a revitalized his season this year. I think he didn't start hitting home runs until like around May. But yeah, man, I do think the Cardinals will be okay. They'll be definitely okay heading to October.
The Cardinals, I don't really understand them. I'd say really the Cardinals are so weird, okay? Because the Cardinals have the most road wins of any team in baseball. And it's at home where they're really struggling at 28-33. I think, you know, if anything, you'd be playing better at home than on the road. The Cardinals, not so much. I think they kind of just have to sort of find a way to keep sort of treading along like they are. If they've already proven that they could be a road-winning team, that's going to help them definitely for the playoffs when sort of that home field advantage, the crowd, the atmosphere kind of kicks it up a notch. So if you can sort of right the ship and find a way to win games at home as opposed to just winning them on the road, I think they'll be okay, and I really do think they will. The Marlins, I mean, really, even the position they're in, I'd say you can say a success and a successful season. Nobody expected them to really be where they are now, even without Giancarlo Stanton. So I'd say kind of my hats off goes to the Marlins, and just hopefully they can right the ship and keep playing well even without Giancarlo Stanton, but I don't really expect it.
Okay, so you don't have the Marlins pretty much sticking around anytime
No,
soon.
I'd say whomever does not win the NL West, either the Dodgers or the Giants. I think they're both going to make the playoffs. The Giants really, really struggling. They're such an experienced team. Think about people.
They always find a way to get in.
Think about people like Buster Posey, Madison Bumgarner. They've won 3 World Series. They got to find a way to sort of rally the troops and kind of make things kind of rally the troops and make things better. I think they're going to. So I'd say both of those teams make the playoffs. What the Dodgers are doing, even without Kershaw, I find astonishing. I thought they would really fall off.
They're gaining production from a lot of players. Like I think Justin Turner has like more than 20 home runs. Jock Peterson's playing a lot better, seeing the ball with much more discipline. Yasmani Grandal has a career high in home runs, and they're getting production from a lot of players they haven't had a lot of offensive power come from before. So. Yeah, and I don't think the Marlins will make the playoffs. I said it before that pitching, they don't have enough pitching for me to do it. But the Cardinals, the Cardinals they're a solid team. They're probably one of the deepest teams in the National League, maybe all of baseball. And the Cardinals will be really fine. I do expect to see them be the second wild card team in October, because they're not going to win the NL Central. The Cubs are
running away with it, and they're not looking back. But I like you said, I would expect the Cardinals to still make the playoffs. So
yeah. All right, well, we're going to take our last break, and we're going to get our last bit of news regarding prospect Dansby Swanson. Yes, Dansby Swanson being promoted to the Atlanta Braves last night. We'll be right back here at the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast, dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
And welcome back to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We have a couple games currently in action. In the middle of the 5th inning, we have the Boston Red Sox and the Detroit Tigers tied at 1. Red Sox playing really well as of late, Jeremiah. Won 6 in a row games. And then we have, in the 2nd inning, we have the Brewers and the Cubs. Cubs already on top 2-0, and they have Jake Arrieta on the mound. So definitely looks like it is early, but they look like they could be winning again. Yes. So moving into our last segment of the show here, we're going to be talking about Brave shortstop Dansby Swanson. Jeremiah mentioned getting called up last night. He went 2 for 4 with 2 singles in his debut, so quite a pretty good start. Swanson ranks number 5 overall in prospects according to MLB Pipeline. Really not really surprised here as far as the Braves go. They currently sit in last place in the NL East. They're 26 and a half games back of the Nationals at 44-76. They have absolutely one of the worst attendance records in baseball before they go into their new stadium next year. Not really surprised here that they might as well call him up, get him some experience, and sort of get him playing with the first team with the major leagues.
Yeah, and not only that, they want to know what they have in their number 1 overall pick from 2015. I think they're trying to prepare him to pretty much start 2017 as a primary shortstop.
Right. Because
they did trade Eric Ibar, on Tuesday to make room for Dansby Swanson. And the thing about Dansby Swanson, he did go 2 for 4, but also what everyone's not really talking about is that Kyle Gibson, the Minnesota Twins pitcher, actually pitched a complete game. So Swanson kind of overshadowed that a little bit.
And you would imagine so in his debut. I mean, you kind of obviously he's one of the highest prospects according to MLB Pipeline. He's number 5. Everyone has their own different rankings and everything. He's one of the best young players, and you kind of have your debut out there. Think about when people like Bryce Harper came into his first game. I'm not really comparing Swansby to Harper, no disrespect there, but kind of that same thing. Like, he's the next top young prospect. He's going to get the headlines. So.
Yeah,
not really surprised.
And Swanson actually is from Atlanta, so debuting for his hometown team was kind of very surreal to him. And I read an article, I forgot what publication it was for, but he didn't get much sleep. He is from Atlanta. He had to go, I think he drove from Mississippi to Atlanta, I think think at 2, he didn't get home till like 2 a.m. And of course he couldn't sleep because you can't sleep when you're about to play your first major league game. Like, come on.
The excitement is definitely there.
And then he got to the clubhouse early, and it was just surreal for him because this is the team he grew up watching. Even though there wasn't a lot of people there, it was a small crowd, but the fact that you're playing for your hometown team, that's pretty cool, man. That's really pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's definitely like the dream. Think of like people like LeBron James, Derrick Rose before he was traded to the Knicks when he was on the Bulls. Definitely, it's definitely something you have to sort of be excited about. There's no reason not to be.
Yeah, and I think Swanson's actually the first number 1 overall pick from the previous season since Steven Strasburg, 2009. So
to debut.
Yeah, to debut the year after going number 1 overall. And
yeah,
he had quite a Swanson was quite a hitter in Vanderbilt too. So
yeah, and if he's already getting promoted here, obviously we think there's other implications as opposed to just necessarily him being a good player. Attendance isn't really well. They're not doing too well, trying to sort of say this season is over and get people ready for next year. So I think that's definitely what they're looking at here. But also it speaks to how good of a prospect he is if he's already reaching up here. He's only got drafted 2 years ago, and he's already into the bigs. I mean, that means a lot. Not to say that he just got called up, but he's really earned it.
Yeah, he didn't even go up to AAA. That's the thing. He got promoted from AA. So
yeah, and in AA he was doing not bad. He was hitting about 261, drove in 45 RBIs, so draws a lot of walks. He's got a great plate discipline.
Yeah, very good plate discipline. That's one of the first things that came to my mind when I saw his stats in the minors. Very good, and he was kind of polished already. Being a hitter at Vanderbilt, which they have one of the best baseball programs in the country. So you kind of see it already. He's polished.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a really good player. He's still very young. He's only in his early 20s. His debut obviously last night, so he's only 22 years old. So he still has a good 15 years as long as he stays healthy. And the Braves obviously invested a lot in him being the first rounder of 2 years ago.
Well, he got drafted by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he got acquired by the Diamondbacks in the Shelby Miller trade. And as of right now, I think the Braves kind of won that trade because Shelby Miller, he hasn't put together the best season. He actually
really hasn't. I'd say Greinke as well.
And Greinke, yeah.
Yeah, when I speaking of Greinke really quickly, when I saw that he signed for the Diamondbacks, I thought instantly, wow, he just jumped for the money because the Diamondbacks are not really a team ready yet, and they went with Miller and Greinke. Obviously, that's great. You want to build on starting pitching, but they invested a whole lot of money when they really don't have anything else to build around there. I thought that was crazy. And they gave up Swanson in that trade. Like you mentioned, I think it's looking better for the Braves. They have more of a future with this than Shelby Miller in the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, and I think the Braves could have had a lot more prospects. They could have traded Julio Teheran for pretty much a big hole, I think, to the right team. Who else they have? They still have Freddie Freeman, who I don't think they're going to give up on anytime soon. He's probably the franchise player right now. And I think and they have Matt Kemp to build on. So I think maybe this team, if they have the right pieces together and they build some pitching, then maybe I give the Braves probably like 4 to 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I really do think the Braves got the better end of this Dansby Swanson deal because Shelby Miller, he's been one of the worst pitchers in baseball this season. And he even got optioned to AAA. So that should tell you something, how bad this trade was for the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, Dansby Swanson, over his career in the minors, he's played 127 games. He's got a 277 average, so not terribly bad. But really what stuck out to me is he's got 137 hits. So he's getting, on average, better than a hit a game. That's really good. That's
very good. All right, well, that concludes our show, Ben.
Yes, it does. It concludes our first show, but we're going to be back and better than ever with another episode. Going to be talking about Jonathan Papelbon, not really working out there with the Nationals and the Phillies before that. So he's now a free agent. Reports are that he might be looking at a few teams, maybe a reunion in Boston.
Yeah,
we'll have to talk about it. There's definitely a lot to go on with that. Talking about that in the next episode, as well as the American League MVP race heating up. There was one person who I thought was really running away with it, but now we have a lot of.
It's a lot closer.
We have a lot of great hitters who I think are making it a lot closer. Yes. And then we're going to preview and sort of highlight the New York Yankees and a lot of their young guns, a lot of people that they acquired recently in the trade deadline. and a lot of great prospects already in their farm system.
Yeah, not only that, we're probably going to get into the American League Cy Young race a little bit. We got a couple of pitchers.
Just as well as the MVP race, I think there's a lot of guys that you can really toss in there. There's not really a definitive favorite in my eyes.
Yeah, we got a lot of pitchers making a name for themselves this season, entering the race. So, yeah, we'll get more into that, guys. So, you can always catch this show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud. We have 2 episodes every week for you guys. We also have a Twitter page. You guys can follow at GSMC_baseball and on Instagram, the same handle being at GSMC_baseball. You can like us on Facebook at the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. You can listen to this show, my football show, Ben's Sports and Soccer Show at GSMCpodcast.com. Man, Ben loves the soccer show. I think he likes it better than this one, but whatever.
Let's just say I will be a little biased. Soccer is my favorite sport. So.
I remember when I first mentioned you, you're like, man, soccer is awesome. Yeah,
soccer is my baby. So
well, that's the same.
I will
way.
be a little biased. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, that concludes our show, guys. And you guys do not go anywhere because we'll be back with another action-packed episode, as always, here at the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.